Hey guys, welcome to today's comparison. I've got three very strong Swiss divers here in front of the camera. We've got the Oris Aquis in titanium 43mm version. The middle is the 42mm Rado Captain Cook. This is a recent release from the Swatch Group brand. And on the right is another Oris, the Diver 65 in 40mm. And I have the Bico, or the bicolor version, the bronze and stainless steel edition. Each one of these three watches are very strong entries at that right around $2,000 retail price segment of the market. Now, each one of them, they got a slightly different retail price, but each one of them you're going to be able to buy new from an authorized dealer or new gray market for under $2,000. So they're real similar in the price point, real similar in the different details, and I think will make a great head-to-head. Now, I'm going to declare winners of various aspects of the watch for all categories, movement, dial, crystal, all that stuff. We're gonna go through that. You might have a favorite. You might be biased. You might think I'm wrong in my picks, but I've tried to be real objective here, and I'm going to declare specific winners in each category. And at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you which one I think is the best buy for that $2,000 Swiss price point category. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the dial. Each one of these has a very sharp dial. The Captain Cook and the Diver 65 have a domed dial that have more of a reflective polish finish, and they look really, really sharp. Obviously, these two are retro inspired or vintage inspired designs here. The Aquis has a linear sunburst effect with defined graining here, applied markers with beautiful facets here, polished, nice long handset. I think each one of these dials is powerful in its own right. But looking at the Rado and looking at the Diver 65, I was able to find blemishes and a little bit poor printing on the Diver 65. So I'm going to say, at least when it comes to dial details and execution, the Aquis here is the winner in my opinion. I love the applied markers. I like how they're deep filled with BGW9. I like the cleanliness and the overall balance here with the date at the 6 o'clock position. I think it's probably the most legible at a glance, and I think they've done the nicest job here. So the win goes to the Aquis. Let's transition into the lume shot so you guys can see the different compounds of superluminova that are on each one of these watches. The 65 has old radium. The Rado has C1, and then the Aquis has BGW9. And I will say, out of the three, the Aquis has the most potent luminescence and it lasts the longest. I think it's because the markers are deep filled, the applied markers are deep filled, and the compound is a nicer quality than the other two compounds, as you guys can see here. So again, the win goes to the Aquis when it comes to low light visibility. Now let's go back to natural light and talk about the crystal. We have sapphire crystals on each one of these watches. They each carry anti-reflective treatment on the underside of the crystal. And as you guys can see from this natural light shot, we still do get quite a bit of light play and reflection here. I love the box shape of the Captain Cook and the Diver 65. The Aquis has more of a gentle dome effect to it, but I will say that the anti-reflective treatment or the application on the Captain Cook is a little bit nicer. You're getting a little less light play and reflections off of the crystal, which is impressive because the dial is also the most reflective of the three. So for that reason, I'm going to say the best crystal execution goes to the Rado here. Now let's move to bezel action. I'm going to sample each one of them for you guys, starting with the worst and going to the best. The worst is the Diver 65. Let's get the camera to focus here. It's kind of mushy. There's quite a bit of play. The grip is all right. I mean, it's decent. And I've seen some Oris Aquis, or sorry, Diver 65 that have a non-centered lume pip. I've reviewed one that had that. So I'd say the bezel is the worst on the 65. It is better on the Captain Cook. As you guys can hear, this has a nice, pleasant sound. Ceramic, sloping in, high intensity ceramic is what they call it. and there really is no play. And so it's actually pretty good. It's a step up above the Diver 65, but I think the winner would be the Aquis. Listen to this. This one is really well done. It's the loudest, it's the most mechanical feeling, the most snappy. Each position is very well defined. Now there is a bit of backplay in this. So you might be thinking, Bruce, well, why isn't the Captain Cook winning? Well, part of it just comes down to the tactile feel. I think the grip, the amount of resistance, the sound, and the feel between clicks, although this does have a slight amount of backplay, is just a little bit nicer on the Aquis. Now let's go to wrist shots here. What one has the best fit? I'll start with the Aquis. It's got a very nice fit, and I gotta mention that this 43 millimeter size, it might be a little bit large for some people. Fortunately, Oris does make this in 39.5 millimeter. It's gonna be comparable to that Diver 65 when it comes to the fit on wrist, but with a little bit more aggressively shaped bracelet, I know, with this integrated style. I like it, but I don't think everyone will like this over the other two. The Captain Cook has a nice fit. It's nice and thin. The Beads of Rice style bracelet is very supple, very comfortable. The 42 millimeter size is deceptive because it wears more diminutively. I would say this wears more like a 40, especially with that smaller dial. Visually, it looks a lot smaller as well. And then if we go to the 65, I think this one has the nicest fit. I love the proportions. I love the thinness. You know, this technically isn't the thinnest one, but most of the overall height comes from that big box sapphire crystal. So the mid case and the bezel is very slender, and it feels the thinnest and most comfortable on wrist. So I'm gonna give it the win there. Let's transition to a bracelet. Which one has the nicest bracelet? I like the dramatic taper of this Diver 65. I like the oyster style. This one is held together via a pin and tube system, and the clasp is well machined. I will say, I don't think the faux rivet style is received very well by the watch community as a whole. So I'm not gonna give this one the win, although the bracelet's very nice. I think it's nicer than the Captain Cook bracelet, which is also held together via a pin and tube system. And this one, again, it's very comfortable, but it has a little bit more stretch, flex, and give to it. And the kicker here is your clasp does not have any micro adjustment holes. I know they were going for a more vintage look and delicate feel. They wanted to keep the thinness. They didn't want to have the clasp bump out beyond the width of those last links. So there is a pro and a con to it, but I think the lack of micro adjustment is going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people. So that leaves the Aquis. I think the bracelet's the best on the Aquis. This one is held together via screws. Each one of these links is fully articulating. There's a nice dive extension system, 3 micro adjustment holes, and I really like the finish work here with the brushed center link, the polished outer flanks. I think overall it's very, very well done. So the win on the bracelet goes to the Aquis. Now let's talk about the movement, arguably the most important thing on a watch. Both of the Orises have base grade Solita movements. They're not finished to a high degree. They're very utilitarian. There's a custom red rotor. And if you look in the instruction manual, you'll see that these have a window of about 25 seconds per day, acceptable daily deviation. Now I know a lot of you guys, you're not getting that crazy swing. You're getting anywhere from spot on to 10 seconds per day. And that's been my experience with Oris as well. I think they're under promising and over delivering. I think they're being a little overcautious in their spec variants, but if you're unfortunate enough to get a watch that's plus 19 seconds per day, Oris can tell you, sorry man, that's totally within spec. Tough luck. So I'm gonna say the winner is easily gonna be the Captain Cook. I'll give you guys some movement shots of the Captain Cook's modified ETA movement. Again, this one is very basic when it comes to its finishing, very utilitarian, a lot of matte finishing here. But I like the fact that they're using an ETA and they're modifying it to have a free sprung balance wheel. It's got a long power reserve, double that of the Oris's. This one comes in at 80 hours. And overall, this is just really tuned in. It's running plus 3 seconds per day, which I'm really impressed with. So I'm gonna give the win easily here to the Rado. Now let's go to the case back here. Which one of these watches has the nicest case back? I think the worst one will be the Diver 65. It's a high polish, it shows wear really easily, it's very basic. If we go to the Captain Cook, there's a nice engraving here, matte finishing. I think it looks pretty sharp. And then if you look at the the Aquis, you'll see a sapphire exhibition window here where you can see that Sellita movement, the red rotor. I think this is a toss-up between the Aquis and the Captain Cook, but I'm gonna give the nod to the Aquis because you can see the movement. If this is your really first expensive watch, I think that's important. You're gonna wanna see the movement, see the balance oscillating, and I think it's done well. You could give it to the Rado if you don't care about the exhibition window, but I think by a hair, the Aquis wins here. Now I've got 2 more categories to go through before I declare a winner. The first one is versatility. Which one is the most versatile? I think they're all, I think they all could go in a number of different scenarios, situations, and look at home on wrist. The Aquis has an integrated bracelet, which some guys don't like. They really like playing with straps. Although the OEM options for leather and for rubber on the Aquis is really good, you are limited when it comes to aftermarket options. The Captain Cook, I think, is you know, a very traditional, vintage-inspired look. It would look awesome on a number of different leather straps. Very versatile piece. But I think the most versatile would be the Diver 65. The proportions are great. The number of options, colors, and additions, sizes from Oris, I think is the best of the lot. You really can, you know, if you can't find a Diver 65 that you like, you're hard to please because they do a whole lot of consumer choice. I know this one's vintage inspired, but it's not quite as strong or dominant when it comes to the vintage vibe as the Captain Cook. So I think it's gonna be a bit more versatile and would look awesome on a host of different strap options. So versatility win goes to the 65. Last thing, which one has the best design? I understand this one is also a bit subjective. You may be drawn to more vintage watches, more contemporary watches. I did do architecture school and I work in presentation for my normal job. So just from my critique of the 3 different designs here, I think the Aquis is the most powerful for this reason. You know, you look at the face of this watch and everything melds together very well. You have angular hands that tie in with angular applied markers here, that ties in with the angular lug system of the integrated bracelet. But it also has a nice marrying of the more curvaceous form when it comes to the teardrop shape of the links, the beveled side profile of the case. I think overall, when it comes to the form, it does the best job of creating a powerful design here. There's strong design language, strong balance, strong symmetry, and a little bit more so than the Captain Cook, which makes great use of dramatic angles, you know, with this dramatically domed dial, the angled ceramic bezel, the box sapphire crystal. It is also very good. And same with the Diver 65. But I think when it comes to power and cleanliness, I think the Aquis wins. And it does also have this added benefit of being a contemporary design. The other 2 are retro. You know, their heyday was back in the 60s and 70s. So those one would be the best design, I think, probably back in that era. But now it's cool to see something that's not an homage, even if it's an homage to something from your past. So I think that adds just a little bit something. So the design winner is the Aquis. If you guys total everything up, the Captain Cook wins on 2 aspects, the 65 wins in 2 aspects, and the Aquis kind of runs away with this with 6 out of the 10 wins when it comes to individual elements of a watch. And so I think the Aquis is the winner here. Now it might appear lopsided, like the Aquis is way better, and I have to stress the differences here are very close. I mean, the Captain Cook easily could have won this. Same with the 65. It was hard to declare winners in some elements. So I think if you like any one of these, it's going to be a great watch. But if you say, Bruce, which one is the best? I'm going to say the Aquis. And I think throughout this video, you've been able to see why I've deemed that one the winner at this category. Now there's other things to consider: service costs, warranty. The Oris is an independent brand. Rado is owned by the Swatch Group. They're all pretty comparable when it comes to servicing, warranty, and whatnot. And there are some honorable mentions on other watches that are not on the table here today. Like the Tag Heuer Aqua Racer. That one is a great buy at this price point if you buy it low enough. If you're buying it close to retail price, I'm gonna laugh at you. But if you're getting a great price on it, you're spending the mid to low 1000s, that one's really good. I know a lot of you guys like the Trident from Christopher Ward. I've reviewed the titanium version, the 40mm steel version. I think that one's also a powerful buy, but I don't think it's in the same class as this. I think that's 1,000 or less when it comes to what I would want to pay for one of those. And then Longines Hydro Conquest, another powerful competitor from the Swatch Group, but I've heard, I haven't owned one, but I've heard from other owners that it is slightly disappointing in the metal. Another one, micro brand Manta, the Ocean King. That's going to be on the higher end of the price tier, but also done very, very well. A lot of nice elements, details, and execution. And then I'd say the Zinn 104, although it's not Swiss, it's German. It's more toolish. It's also very powerful at this price segment here. So a lot of great options. These three very powerful ones, great additions to any collection. I really enjoy them, but I'd have to say if there's only one, Bruce, you could only own one. Which one is the very best one, the best buy, the best details? That's gonna be the Aquis. I really like this one. I am sorely tempted to purchase this and add it and have it be my lightweight daily driver, one that I don't care if it gets scratched up, beat up. So stay tuned. This one might be joining the collection here in the near future. But thanks for watching this really long marathon of a video. Hopefully you guys found it enjoyable, helpful, informative. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know where you stand. I'd love to discuss it with you. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to try and help. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video.